Hey everyone, in here with Train Like You Fight, and this week we are taking a look at an AK here on the channel. Now this is the first time I've ever reviewed an AK here on the channel, and probably will not be the last time, I will say. But this is a Bulgarian SLR 106 FR, and if you're not familiar with Bulgarian AKs, that just simply means that this is a 5.56 AK with a 16-inch barrel, has the side folding stock on it, and it also has a side optics rail. So very similar aesthetically to like an AK-74, but obviously chambered in 5.56. There's some differences with the thread pitch and some other things on here, but very, very similar, like I said. So when I got this guy, it actually started life as a bone stock Bulgarian SLR 106, but as you can tell, I have heavily upgraded it. And that really just came from, after owning it for a few months, I just kind of noticed some of the, what I would consider, shortcomings of the AK platform. Most of them just being that I feel like there aren't very good accessory mounting options out there for the stock AK. You can get like side rails and barrel mounts for your flashlights and lasers and all that, but the guns end up becoming really heavy. And that was the main thing I noticed also with modernized AKs. It's not uncommon to hear about a modernized AK weighing 11 or even 12 pounds fully loaded. And the cool thing about this build was when I got the rifle, it weighed 9 pounds 1 ounce out of the box. That was with a full magazine and with the original sling attached. And currently, as you guys see, this rifle, it weighs 9 pounds 4 ounces. So we only gained 3 ounces in weight overall to this rifle, and that is with a full magazine and everything that you see on here now. So that is going to be the main focus of today's video, is how was I able to kind of modernize this AK, but also keep the weight in a manageable range. So the first items I want to talk to you guys about are all the different weight saving measures I took to help kind of cut down on that weight so this gun wouldn't end up weighing in excess of 10 pounds. I generally try to keep most of my fighting rifles under 10 pounds, and obviously this one is well under that. So the very first thing I did was I swapped out the original stock for this triangle folder. This thing, it's a very sturdy stock, doesn't feel great on the cheek when it's cold out, but it will reduce the overall weight of your rifle by 5 ounces if you have a plastic stock on here. So helps definitely reduce a lot of weight. Also, I think they just look really good. So the next component on here that helped reduce some weight, very minor, but the Magpul grip here helped knock 1/2 ounce off this gun. This is the Magpul Slim AK grip without the cleaning compartment in it. And like I said, that helps reduce your overall weight by 1/2 ounce. Also has a great grip texture and just a really good angle on it. So very comfortable. Continuing on up, and I know my AK purists are going to hate this. They probably already hate this rifle overall, so it doesn't matter. But I did remove the cleaning rod, which helped knock 1.8 ounces off the overall weight of this rifle. It's just not really a component that I ever found myself using, and it, like I said, took over almost 2 ounces off this rifle. The next component that reduced our weight is actually our railed gas tube here from Midwest Industries. This actually knocked 1 ounce off the overall weight of our rifle compared to the stock gas tube with the upper handguard on it. So, and it obviously gives us the ability to mount a laser aiming module on here. Now the next component that was our kind of our final weight reduction measure was this muzzle device from Definitive Arms. So this is the Definitive Arms fighter brake, and not only is it lighter, it's actually 0.7 ounces lighter than the original muzzle device. It is also a flash hider. That's what this little weird cone Star Wars looking thing is on the end. Also it has ports more on the top of it, so it is advertised as a muzzle brake. I would say it's more of a compensator than anything else. And the nice thing about the ports being so small is it's less concussive than that stock 74 style brake. So I think overall it's just a much better muzzle device, mostly because it cuts down a flash, but it's also a little more friendly to those you might be shooting with. So that's pretty much everything that helped reduce our overall weight. In total, it was just like a little over 9 ounces in total weight reduction. So moving on, some of the components that added weight back to the rifle. The first one is our handguard. This is the RS Regulate 10-inch handguard, and it will add exactly 1 ounce to your rifle. And it's a pretty solid handguard. The only issue I have had with it is if you place your thumb right here next to the gas port, you will kind of shred a pair of gloves. It's really not that painful for your thumb, but if you're using kind of a light pair of gloves, I have noticed that it will tear those up a little bit. But overall, it's a great handguard. It's very lightweight for its length, and it also gives you the ability to forward mount your flashlight much further forward than you could ever mount a flashlight with like a barrel mount, because a lot of those barrel mounts sit between the gas block and the barrel, which would push this a little bit further back. So just a great handguard overall. Now the next component that did add a little bit of weight to was our Attero Arms railed optics mount. To my knowledge, these Attero Arms mounts are the lightest weight options out, or is the lightest weight option out there for an AK optic mount, and it's a pretty solid solution too. It just replaces your rear sight on here, so when you take the weight of your rear sight out, like I said, it adds about 1 ounce to the overall weight of the rifle. The other really nice thing is that we retain the ability to side fold our stock on here, which was another reason why I really liked this optic mounting solution, because it just didn't make much sense to me to add a side rail, because then that just eliminates that feature on the rifle, that side folding feature on the rifle. And then our last component that you can't see it here, but I'll show it in the B-roll, is our K&S gas piston. So I ended up going with the K&S gas piston because of how overgassed this rifle was. The whole time I would shoot it, or before I swapped out the piston, you would always see the bolt bottoming out against the rear trunnion, and the recoil was just a little too snappy for my taste. I mean, it's manageable, but for a 5.56 gun, I just felt it was a little excessive. So the K&S gas piston, when you fully close it, just completely eliminates recoil. The gun will no longer bottom out the bolt, and you just get this really smooth recoil impulse, which is great. So that actually adds 1 ounce to your rifle. So we saved 9 ounces, but now we just added 3 ounces back through other components. But I felt all these components were very necessary, or just worth the added weight. If you are trying to go like ultra lightweight, obviously just don't replace your gas piston, and then go with the standard length handguard from RS Regulate, which is actually 1 ounce lighter than the original handguard that came on this gun. So this isn't the lightest AK you could possibly build, but it's definitely lighter than a lot of your other modern AKs out there. Now, some of the other components that didn't really change the weight, but they're worth mentioning. We do have the Krebs Custom Enhanced Safety ALG EL trigger. The UL was just a little too light for my taste. ALG Enhanced Hammer Spring, just to deal with hard primers on steel cased ammo. I do have the ALG Enhanced Recoil Spring in here. I don't really see a major difference in the recoil impulse with that. Really the major change in the recoil impulse came from the K&S gas piston. And then one of the last things I did internally was I actually went in, I rounded off the hammer face. If you're curious how to do that, Clayco 47 has a great video on how to do that, and it takes maybe 10 minutes with a Dremel tool. One part that isn't really necessary, but I did change it out, was I replaced the shepherd's hook with an enhanced retainer plate from Krebs Custom. It just makes removing your trigger that much easier versus using that original shepherd's hook. And that's pretty much it for all the parts. I know that's a long parts list, but like I said, it took me close to a year to finally finish this build out and get it to the kind of state that you see it in now. Now, the accessories that we have on here, again, we were trying to stay as light as we possibly could, but without sacrificing on quality. So the very first one is our Steiner MPS. This is a pretty solid little optic. I did have an issue where the windage strip popped out on me. Luckily, Steiner is a pretty good company, so they sent me out a brand new MPS, and I haven't had any issues with this one yet. But the glass clarity on this thing is great. Kind of once you get over the ugly look of the optic, it really is a very effective optic. And I do have it on the American Fence Manufacturing titanium mount. So it's very quick to detach and very quick to reattach it onto your rifle. So highly recommend it. The titanium version is just a tiny bit lighter than the standard version, so that's why I went with it. Now, moving on up, we do have an Airsock, a light with a Malkoff head and a Unity hot button. To my knowledge, the Airsock lights are some of the lightest rifle lights out there, with probably one of the cleanest beam patterns there is. And that was one of the main reasons I got it, is because of how clean the beam pattern is. But again, it's a pretty lightweight option. And finally, our sling here. This is the Vickers Blue Force Gear sling. It really is, it's pretty much the same weight as the original sling, but you obviously get that quick adjustment on it that you get out of these modern slings, and it actually utilizes the original sling loops, so you don't have to have QD points or anything like that on here. The RS Regulate rail does have QD points, but I prefer to use these hard mounted ones that go to the barrel and to the stock. They just seem a little more reliable. But overall, good sling, really no major complaints with that. And overall, that is everything with the rifle right now. I do plan on getting a laser aiming module in general for all my rifles eventually. I specifically will probably end up going with the US Night Vision or the 3EIR designate IRV because of how low profile it sits. I do not have a lot of height over bore with this optic, so I need a laser that sits very low, and that's probably one of the most low profile ones there is. It's also lightweight, so even with that laser on here, or even most laser aiming modules, we would still be under 10 pounds. And yeah guys, just overall this has been a really good shooting rifle. With the Canis gas piston, the ALG and the ALG trigger, this has just been a really smooth shooter. It's extremely reliable. Even with all the upgrades on it, I still think it retains that AK reliability that everyone likes to talk about. And it's just been a lot of fun to shoot. This will probably not be my last AK just because of how much fun I've had with this. I've really kind of gotten bored with AR-15s over the past few years just because you really don't see a lot of new things nowadays. And the aftermarket support for the AK is just growing. And it's just, in my opinion, just a really fun rifle to trick out, and there's just a lot of options out there. So this video is really just kind of a design inspiration video. So if you guys are out there trying to build a modern AK that doesn't weigh 10 plus pounds, this is one route that you can go. So that's all for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and do all those things, and remember to train like you fight.